Good afternoon, everybody. This is Holloway with the National Weather Service with Alaska weather for April 7th, 2021. A couple options for you. 1-800 number that will get you through a menu system to look at your weather. Also, there's a website, weather.gov/Alaska. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at the email listed at the bottom of the page. For the watch warnings and advisories out for the state, lots of wind chill advisories for the western interior and northwest Arctic coast there. And a lot of that stuff is going to be going out until Thursday evening, till around 6 p.m. for a lot of that stuff. Also, the blizzard warning there around Bethel is going to be out until 7 a.m. on Thursday. And the winter weather advisory for the Bristol Bay region will be out until 1 a.m. Thursday for Bristol Bay area. And also, winter weather advisory will be in effect until from basically 10 p.m. this evening until 7 a.m. Thursday for the Portage Valley. Also, not on this map is going to be a high wind warning out for Thompson Pass area, Seward area, and Kodiak Island, and that's going to start this evening. So please check in those listings, get on the website or through the 1-800 number to check these watches and warnings. Looking at the satellite image, you can see a weak low there pulling into British Columbia, bringing some scattered snow showers out there along the Panhandle. Also, we have the next system moving through the Bristol Bay region, and we saw in those watches and warnings we're going to see some moderate to light snow showers down through much of the Bristol Bay region, down the Alaska Peninsula, and again the YK Delta. As that low moves into the Gulf region, also some lingering snow showers with a weak trough in the eastern interior. Otherwise, some blowing and drifting snow along the west coast there. For today's weather, 998 millibar low with a occluded front and triple point moving through the Bristol Bay region. Again, moderate to heavy snow showers in that region. Otherwise, for tonight's weather, that low moves into the Gulf region, 994 millibar low with that occluded front. Some moderate rain and snow showers up through the Prince William Sound region, northern Gulf, and down through the eastern Kenai Peninsula. Otherwise, some lingering snow showers down through the Bristol Bay region as we see the next low move into the western Aleutians. Otherwise, blowing and drifting snow and freezing fog along portions of the western interior Seward Peninsula, and some snow showers lingering there in the North Slope as the Panhandle gets braces for the system coming in, and that'll reach them by Thursday with the 985 millibar low now just off the coast of the Panhandle, with moderate snow showers there, possible of heavy rain showers over the southern end of the Panhandle, but otherwise some lingering snow showers through the southeast interior and down through south central Alaska. And again, that another weak trough in the eastern interior brings some snow showers in that region, and that lastly that low over there in the western Aleutians bringing some moderate snow showers and rain showers south of the Aleutians with a triple point there. And again, that's for Thursday. Otherwise, high pressure brings strong northerly flow, bringing some cool and cold temperatures across much of the mainland. And we'll see that into the weekend. For Friday's weather, that 96 millibar low now crosses the Aleutians with, again, an occluded front out through much of the Bering Sea. Moderate snow showers associated with that system, mixed precipitation across the central and western Aleutians. Otherwise, 1038 millibar high across the mainland. Again, driving some of those cold temperatures across the mainland. That low near the Panhandle weakens to 1004 millibars there, with light snow showers associated with that system across that region. Again, some light snow showers through the eastern interior. For low temperatures on Thursday morning, we're going to be seeing 33 in Ketchikan, 34 in Sitka, 28 in Juneau, 23 in Haines, 25 in Yakutat, 26 in Valdez, 25 here in Anchorage, 16 in Talkeetna, 25 in Kenai, 34 in Kodiak, 12 in king salmon. As we move up to the North Slope and interior region, minus 15 at AKwx, minus 23 in Barrow, minus 23 in Point Hope, minus 16 in Arctic Village, minus 34 there in AKwx Pass, minus 3 in Fort Yukon, minus 9 in Eagle, minus 3 in Fairbanks, minus 19 in Tanana, minus 25 in Galena, minus 20 in Nome, and minus 7 in McGrath, and minus 14 in Antioch. Down through the Southwest and Alaska Peninsula Aleutians, we'll be seeing 8 in Bethel, minus 8 in Bethel, 12 in Dillingham, 26 in Cold Bay, 30 in Dutch Harbor, 35 in Shemya, and 22 in St. Paul. Back over to the Gulf region, Thursday afternoon, high temperatures 39 in Ketchikan, 41 in Sitka, 38 in Juneau, 39 in Haines, 38 in Yakutat, 30 in Valdez, 27 here in Anchorage, 23 in Talkeetna, 20 in King Salmon, 34 in Kodiak. Up to the North Slope, minus 5 in Kaktovik, minus 7 in Barrow, minus 5 in Point Hope, minus 23. Looks like they're going to get stay below freezing temperatures there at AKwx Pass with minus 23. 13 in Fort Yukon, 20 in Eagle, 12 in Fairbanks, 1 in Galena, 2 in Antioch, or that might be, Grayling, and minus 1 in Nome. Let's go over to the Southwest region and Alaska Peninsula, 2 in Bethel, 30 in Cold Bay, 33 in Dutch Harbor, 40 in Shemya, 24 in St. Paul. Back over to low temperatures Friday morning, 34 in Ketchikan, 36 in Sitka, 32 in Juneau, 7 here in Anchorage, minus 6 in Talkeetna, minus 5 in King Salmon, 23 in Kodiak. Up to the North Slope, minus 20 in Kaktovik, minus 17 in Barrow, minus 19 in Point Hope, minus 16 in Fairbanks, minus 19 in Nome. Down through the Southwest, minus 13 in Bethel, 21 in Cold Bay, 30 in Dutch Harbor, 36 in Shemya, 24 in St. Paul. Afternoon temperatures for Friday, 42 in Ketchikan, 39 in Juneau, 20 in Anchorage. Up to the North Slope, minus 13 in Dead Horse, minus 5 in Barrow, 5 in Fairbanks, and down through the Southwest.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the aviation forecast, starting with the flying weather on Thursday morning, we'll be watching a low pressure system move from the Bristol Bay region into the Gulf, South Central area, and then into the Panhandle. But otherwise, we'll see some areas of IFR conditions across the North Slope and into South Central, and also across the Western and Central Aleutians. And then for Thursday afternoon, continued areas of IFR conditions across the North Slope and portions of the Eastern Interior, and we'll be seeing some IFR conditions show up there as that low approaches the Panhandle, and then IFR conditions in the Southern Bering with marginal conditions throughout much of that region. And then for Friday morning, improving conditions in the Panhandle with marginal conditions there, continued IFR conditions across the Eastern Interior and portions of the North Slope, and IFR conditions as another system moves east through the Aleutians, with IFR conditions through portions of the Eastern Aleutians and portions of the Central Bering Sea. And finally, for Friday afternoon, continued marginal conditions across the Panhandle with lingering conditions, IFR conditions across the Eastern Interior and along the Arctic coast there, and some extensive IFR areas along the Western Aleutians into the Bering Sea and portions of the Alaska Peninsula. For past conditions on Thursday, went for marginal conditions for AKwx. Watch for IFR conditions on the north entrance, and that is the same for Adigan. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, look for IFR conditions improving to VFR conditions during the day. Rainy IFR improving to marginal. Same for Windy. Same for Isabel. Mentasta went for VFR conditions there and then decreasing to IFR conditions in the afternoon and evening. Tanita IFR improving to marginal, and much the same for Portage. Chilkoot and White VFR early, and as that low pressure system approaches, IFR conditions forming during the day on Thursday. For freezing levels on Thursday morning, surface freezing level cuts across the Panhandle into south central and northern Gulf area and out through Alaska Peninsula into the southern Bering. Had to get into the Aleutians and the Gulf region to get elevated freezing levels. For icy conditions on Thursday, went for an area of isolated moderate across the Bering Sea with below 5,000 feet there and between 5 and 10,000 feet with areas of considerable moderate in the northern Gulf and portions of the southern Panhandle. For the jet stream on Thursday, looking for 155 knot jet across the Bristol Bay region into just south of Kodiak Island there, otherwise 45 knots in a northerly fashion across south central Anchorage area, 80 knots in northerly winds there across Nome, and more of a westerly winds as you come into the Panhandle with 60 knots there. Otherwise 110 knots from a westerly direction out there in the central to western Aleutians. For 9,000 foot winds on Thursday, looking for northerly winds across much of the western mainland into Bristol Bay region with 65 knots near Kodiak Island, northern Alaska Peninsula, and then 40 knots as you come into the Panhandle there from a westerly direction and into Canada. And then otherwise strong winds through the Gulf region and also across the western Aleutian with 70 to 65 knots there. And finally, for 3,000 foot winds on Thursday, looking at winds continuing on northerly across much of the mainland, otherwise 20 to 30 knots range across much of the mainland and into the northern Gulf, with winds picking up in the Gulf region with 50 to 70 knots there, 55 knots in a westerly direction to reach the Panhandle. And lastly, out in the Aleutians, get into more westerlies with 55 knots coming in there, and then southerly winds as you get into the southern Bering with 70 knot max out there. And finally, for turbulence, looking below 4,000 feet across much of the Bristol Bay region with an area of isolated severe there in the central Alaska Peninsula, otherwise below 6,000 feet across much of the Panhandle, and below 3,000 feet with an area of isolated severe there in the western Aleutians, but otherwise again below 3,000 feet, and otherwise considerable to isolated areas in the western and southwest.
When you think of a national park, you probably envision wide open natural spaces undisturbed by human activity. There are indeed such places, but even in some of the most remote areas of a place like Kenai Fjords National Park in Alaska, the mark of man is present. Marine debris is a menace to the farthest reaches of our globe, and even designated national park lands are not immune. In the summer of 2009, the Resurrection Bay Conservation Alliance, a grassroots conservation organization based in Seward, Alaska, decided to do something about the marine debris fouling the beaches of Kenai Fjords National Park. Marine debris coordinator Tim Johnson had first-hand experience with the issue.
The summer before, my wife and I, Michelle, had done a paddle from Seward, sea kayak paddle from Seward to Homer. Really, our eyes were open to some areas that we didn't realize there was so much accumulation. It was very deceiving up front. You couldn't really get a feel for the extent and impact of it. You've got this nice high tide line that's quite pristine, and you really don't get a picture for the impact, the amount of debris in that area until you get behind those storm berms. You get back into the lagoons and the vegetation around those lagoons. And then you see the absolute extent back into that veg and how intertwined and enmeshed these decades of trash deposition. So we were just appalled by that and said we got to get something together on a larger scale.
The Resurrection Bay Conservation Alliance is a local nonprofit community organization, and they have been instrumental in helping the Park Service obtain funding to to get boats, larger boats to help move the debris, and they get volunteer labor and organize the work trips. And so it's really a partnership between the Park Service and the community to help get out and really get a project done that in and of itself any one group couldn't do on their own.
Most of that trash was baggable. However, there were large items, huge, piles of hauser line, for example, that we just had to hoist up onto the boat.
The volunteers didn't just bag, haul, and hoist the garbage, but also carefully recorded what types of debris were collected.
In many ways, the debris itself is a resource. Archaeologists use middens, the trash heaps, as a way of analyzing past cultures. And in one sense, marine debris is a form of a midden. It's a trash heap that left for the future would be something that people could use to analyze our culture. It may not say the best things about our culture or everything that we want, but we need to be able to document what we've done so that we can preserve that legacy, make sure that we as a society don't forget what we've been doing.
We had two larger categories of marine debris that we picked up. Commercial fishing means like, say, gill nets, large hauser lines, anything that would be associated with more of a commercial fishing scale. And then the second category was more recreational fishing and household, which would be general plastics, things like that. So we had about a 75% of the commercial fishing marine debris element, and about 25% of the recreational and household further out the bay. And we had the exact opposite the closer we got to Seward. Within the bay, it was about 25% commercial fishing versus 75% recreational fishing and household.
The trash is not just unsightly for park visitors, but also poses threats to wildlife and marine habitat.
Really one of the larger issues now that you go to this plastic that can really get into the food web and affect the food web differently than something like glass.
These substances, for instance, all these polystyrene blocks that are breaking down into all these little crumbly bits are further breaking down on a microscopic level, and how much of an impact that has, in this ecosystem is yet to be determined, but I think it's got pretty high potential.
Well known that sea turtles will eat plastic bags floating in the water. They look like jellyfish to a sea turtle, and obviously a plastic bag doesn't go well in the digestive system of a turtle. Albatross will see small pieces of plastic floating on the surface and think they're small fish and other food sources and eat that in their stomachs, especially in some of the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. They'll find dead albatross that have starved to death with a full stomach, and it's full of pieces of plastic.
We're affecting our local areas this way, but we need to be thinking about it from more of a state and global, international scale. And most importantly, to try and focus on prevention of it coming in the first place. Because we're just going to see this continuing, to build up on our beaches unless we're able to get a little bit more of an approach on prevention on the front end.
Marine debris is really a global problem, in all the oceans, and there are many different sources. Global shipping is one. Fishing debris from commercial fishing, recreational boating activity, activity on land, stuff blowing off land, washing down streams, people just throwing stuff on the shore.
Though the problem can seem overwhelming, Johnson remains upbeat about making a positive difference.
No, you gotta start locally. You gotta take control of what you can do, and make something with that, and try and move on from there.
Overall, more than 9 tons of debris was removed from the beaches of Kenai Fjords National Park and transported back to Seward to be deposited in a landfill.
People gave a lot to the project in order to make it happen. That was awesome. One of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, being able to put that large of a group of volunteers together, dedicated volunteers to put that much effort and give that much time and pull all the different agencies together to see it all happen was incredible. It was incredible. Yeah, very fulfilling experience.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, starting with the ice edge. The ice forecaster mentions that further ice development will be moving south, especially around the St. Matthew Island area. Lesser extent as you move eastward over the ice pack. We also have some lower concentrations of ice in Bristol Bay region and in the Cook Inlet region. Also watch for some openings, lower concentrations of ice, as the difference between the ice pack and shortfast ice produces some openings there. For the marine forecast for southeast inside waters, winds from a southwesterly direction at 30 to 40 with gusts of 55. So look for storm force winds there, especially over the Clarence Strait region. Outside waters, winds generally from a southerly direction, 35 to 45 with seas as high as 16. So look for gales there. And then for Friday, for southeast, the northern central inside waters, winds from the north at 20 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet. And for the southern end of the inside waters, winds generally from the southeast at 10, seas as high as 4 feet. And for the Gulf region, winds generally from the west at 25 to 30 with seas as high as 19 feet. So we'll look for some gales or small craft advisories there on Friday. For Thursday, south central, Prince William Sound region, winds generally from the northwest at 35, seas as high as 7 feet. Gulf region, winds generally from the northwest at 40 to 60 with seas as high as 27 feet. So look for storm force winds there. And for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the northwest at 30 to 35 with Kamishak Bay region up to 65 with seas as high as 22 feet. So look for storm force and also some freezing spray there on Thursday. For Friday, winds really settle down. Prince William Sound region, winds generally from the northwest at 40, seas as high as 9 feet. For the Gulf region, winds generally from the northwest at 40 to 55 with seas as high as 21. So look for storm force winds continuing there. And for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from the north at 25 to 40 with seas as high as around 11 feet in the Kamishak Bay region. For Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, Thursday around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the northwest. Seems like a common theme with winds generally from the northwest at 50 to 55 with seas as high as 23 feet. And for the south side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from a northwesterly direction to 45 with seas as high as 13. North side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds between 30 and 40 with seas as high as 16 feet. And for Friday, winds around Kodiak Island continuing in the northwest at 35 to 45 with seas as high as 18 feet. And for south side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the south at 20 with seas as high as 5 feet. And the north side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from a easterly direction at 25 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet. For Thursday, marine forecast, Aleutian Island, winds generally from a easterly direction, 25 to 45 out there in the western Aleutians, with seas as high as 17 feet between Kiska and Shimia. So look for gale to storm force winds there. And for Friday, winds really pick up there over the western Aleutians. Winds generally from a southwesterly direction, 40 to 45, with seas as high as 29 feet. And for the western or eastern and central Aleutians, winds generally from the southwest at 30, with seas as high as 10 feet. For the west coast, looking at winds generally from the northerly direction, 20 to 35, with seas as high as 9 feet, just on the south side of the ice edge there, and around 10 feet near the Pribs. And for Friday's west coast forecast, winds generally from a easterly direction, 10 to 45. They're near St. Matthew Island, seas as high as 18 feet. For the Arctic coast, looking at winds generally from a easterly direction, 10 along the Beaufort Sea coast, otherwise Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from the northwest at 15, and down through the Bering Strait, winds from the northerly direction, 20 to 25. And for Friday, looking at winds generally from a westerly direction, 15 to 20 along the Arctic coast there, down through the Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally from the west at 10 to 15, down through the Bering Strait, 5 to 30 with variable winds. For tonight's weather, looking at that 994 millibar low moving into the Gulf with moderate snow showers along the eastern Kenai Peninsula into the Prince William Sound region, otherwise lingering snow showers across the southwest and interior region.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.